amongst so many other things. You know?
Jess, I'm so pleased that we're actually finally doing the podcast. Hi.
I'm super, super pleased with this. I love it. Although I was like, sort of like, I dressed all like fancy for it. And then you're like, but I'm not even going to see you.
Well,
I'm just going to hear you laugh because you're good at that.
Yeah. However, I just think there could be good potential for this to go in to the portal as well. So we'll see how that flies, but certainly audio.
Well, that's
and
good.
and
I'm
you
wearing
do
a
look
necklace
gorgeous.
and I'm wearing earrings, so it's a big deal. Normally,
I
you
get
and I
it.
are just under Aviator Nation sweatshirts, so there's
Exactly, and you won't know this, but I've actually got I've got a Trelise Cooper T-shirt on, and she is a fashion designer here in New Zealand, and I'm like, I'm bringing the Cooper up today because
yeah.
I'm
I
doing a
mean,
podcast.
you're looking fly, sister. Said the
Oh, thank
'90s
you.
hip hop girl. We'll do an
So,
episode on what you should listen to when you're training. Okay, how
oh,
about
what a
that?
great
I'm gonna
idea.
give you the best soundtrack of your life.
Oh my gosh, you should, because right now I'm deep into country. I love country, but
I love that you love country. I think that everybody, like, I can't say that I've like been a big, country person, but I think like the way country sort of has evolved into, I think now we're all a little bit country,
I think so.
right?
Yeah, yeah, totally. It has moved on from Kenny and Dolly, that's for sure.
No, never say that. I never wanted to move on from Kenny and Dolly. They're the best.
So, let's do it. Should we make this one a little intro, actually? Like, I think this would be good because there will be people who know me and there will be people who know you, but I think that we'll also have people who are unaware or unfamiliar with the other person. So, kick us off, Jess. Why don't you give us a little brief background on who you are and what you do, and yeah, who you work with.
I mean, just the fact that I'm like a, neurotic Jew who likes to drink a lot of coffee. And I'm just kidding. I'm also like, I am Jessica DiBiase. I have owned Jessica DiBiase Fitness now for about 14 years.
Mm.
I always start my health story, which I was thrown into a pool, not literally, but figuratively, by my parents before I could walk. My dad was a we'll call it almost Olympic swimmer. But he was, just super, super disciplined, and health was the way of life. Sports were the way of life. Water was the way of life. So I was in a pool before I could walk, and it really was kind of how my dad believed that, we should be, and that's essentially we should be moving. Like he believed we should be moving all the time, and so we did. So then from there, I got into gymnastics and I became a competitive gymnast. And that was very exciting. And then I was very tall. And so gymnastics kind of petered out. And then I ended up finding tennis and just the love of sports. And then I went on to go off to college. And all the while, was always kind of loving health in some way and started doing triathlons. It was kind of like basically to me, health and wellness has always been like a salad bar. This is my 8-year-old in the background, who's also a mover and a shaker. She's got out of the pool herself. But I wanted to try a little bit of everything, so I did. And then when I graduated from college, I went on to grad school and I got a master's in organizational communication. So I loved communication and entrepreneurship. My family not only loved to move, but they also loved to run businesses. So I kind of had this sort of need early on to want to run a business, and so I did. And so I started Jessica DiBiase Fitness, and I had partners as well, and we had a brick and mortar gym, but I was always doing the personal training and coaching, and I just loved the intimacy of it. After sort of getting all of my certifications, the first thing that I did when I was in grad school is I was a spin instructor. So I was like, which was great because I was doing that all over the place. It was like a wonderful way to like pop into all these different gyms and sort of just understand the community of, fitness from that standpoint. And then I went on to get certified as a strength and conditioning coach. And then something kind of cool happened during that time. The two business partners that I had at the time, it was right when CrossFit was getting very popular. And so we kind of wanted something that wasn't CrossFit, but we kind of wanted our own niche. We wanted to find a sport that all ages could do. And so we found this cool thing called kettlebell sport, which was still like, I think people are, it's certainly like so, well known and popular to a point now, but really nobody knew about it. But I always say it's the oldest, newest sport. A kettlebell was used in the first Olympic Games. And so we got certified by kind of the master of kettlebell sport, this guy named Valery Fedorenko. So it was like super popular in Eastern Europe. And then we just decided to form the first ever women's kettlebell sport team in the US. And so we did. And everybody thought we were kind of crazy, but that's sort of the way an entrepreneur's brain works, right? Like you want to find the need that isn't there, and everybody kind of looks at you crazy. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure what you're doing, but you just kind of put your head down and you go. And that's what we did. And so we created this team. We traveled all over the US, we traveled all over internationally, and we competed in the sport of kettlebell lifting.
Amazing.
And people are like, well, what the heck is kettlebell lifting? And I always say it's just like cardio power lifting. It's cleans and snatches and jerks. And you do this for time. So they're time sets for a total of 10 minutes, and it's 5 minutes each side. And it's one of those amazing sports that was very high in intensity, but didn't have a lot of impact, right? Like it wasn't like you were pounding the joints constantly, but it kind of worked just about every freaking muscle in the body. And so I just thought it was the most versatile sport I'd ever done. And remember, I had done a lot of them. And then, and so we kind of just started building that, and, my training business kind of, took off, and we've kind of, gone from there. So, and then in time, we've evolved into now, what you and I are doing, which is just really believing, of course, that strength and musculoskeletal health, right, is the nucleus of everything. It's, as Gabrielle Lyon says, it's an organ of longevity. And so now we're really just, I think, scratching the surface. I think there's so much to understand about the human body, but certainly how very important muscle is, and essentially how we keep it on our bodies. But I'm so glad from the beginning of my life that it was, whether my parents knew it or not, I think they stressed the importance of, building not only your physical muscle, but I think also just building your relationship muscle.
100%. And Jess, I never knew that about your past, actually, and about your dad. And obviously I know that your daughter's like super active, and you yourself, but did you find it hard, I wonder, to sort of move from the environment in the gym where oftentimes it's endurance based, it's more, like the more you do, the better it is, the more, what is it? I don't know, you seem to have moved from like spin class and gym based stuff to the short sharpness of kettlebells. Like, was that a hard shift for you? Because as you know, and I'm an endurance girl. Like more is actually better in my mind. For me personally, I feel better when I do more. Like, did you ever have that sort of, I don't know, that thing going on in your head going, I should be doing more, but 12 minutes is enough? Like, how does that look?
100%. And I actually love that you even asked me that, because I don't know that anybody's actually asked that question to me. Because I think I didn't even really know that about myself, but I definitely, and I've said this a lot to even, my clients in my training and my coaching, as I say, I think I just help people transition from being cardio queens to strength kings, right? So I used to think that like longer was better, right? Or if I had the choice, do I go, do I do a spin class? Do I run? Do I do kind of more traditional cardio, or do I strength train? So I think for the longest time, I was like, well, obviously I'm going to do a spin class. I'm going to do cardio. I'm not going to do the strength work, because that's not going to get me that kind of feeling that I'm looking for, that sort of sweaty. But when I started kettlebell lifting, the answer sort of was easy because the workout was so unbelievably total body. So like even to this day, I'm like, how in the world in 10 to 12 minutes could I be this sweaty and exhausted? So it was kind of mimicking a lot of what I was getting from the longer aerobic exercises. I was getting that in shorter durations of kettlebell. Now remember, because I'm a coach and I'm an athlete, I wasn't just like showing up and doing like 10-minute workout and then going home. I was doing like still all the ancillary strength work that goes alongside kettlebell lifting. So, I'm doing, my traditional kind of strength work. I'm doing warm-ups. I was still kind of running on the treadmill, in addition to like getting in and doing my lifting and my set. So it wasn't like my whole workout is only 10 minutes. That's not true. But the actual kind of meat and potatoes of the sets aren't very long, but they were so comprehensive. That's the best way to put it, that I didn't really feel like I needed to go do like a 10-mile run after I was done with a kettlebell set, because I'd already kind of did it. And that's why sort of in the same way that you and I talk about, just the importance of nutrition and resistance training, kettlebell, and how sort of what a golden nugget that is. Kettlebell sport was kind of that way for me. I was like, well, Jesus, this is like a total golden nugget. Like, you mean you get cardiovascular and musculoskeletal, like strength all in one workout? You know what I mean? I thought, well, it really just sounded like a good, perfect swirl of an ice cream cone or something, right? Like, I'm a person who never gets one scoop, I get two, because I can't decide which one I want. Or
See,
I get
and
the chocolate milk swirl. So
I think I'd be the same. And this is why I'm looking forward to us actually meeting up in person, so you can actually take me through what you do, because
you're going to love it. You're going to be total convert.
Well, maybe. Like, I say maybe. I put a little like sort of asterisk beside it, because how do you change a lifetime of habit like that? Like, I'm talking about 30 years of doing, and I'm interested, and I do strength work, and I also love running. I can't even put into words how much I love running. Albeit, even this morning, both husband and I were saying to each other, I just really wish that I can't think back to a time when it didn't hurt when I ran. and it's not enough to put us off, but you just, as a runner, you're always either about to be injured, coming off an injury. Like, there's no in between there. There's always, it always sort of features. And maybe it's just an age thing. I'm not sure.
Well, I don't, the thing about it is that I've heard that, and I don't ever want to take away, this is what I'll always say to my very dear friends like you, or to my clients or whomever. I never want to take away what brings people joy, because at the end of the day, like, you have to love what you're doing, whatever that is. So I don't ever put like a right or a wrong. I think that if you're doing something and it's bringing you joy, you should keep doing that, because there's really good psychological benefits to that. So keep doing it. I don't necessarily believe, just knowing you and our friendship and how we engage with our life together, I think that you are actually quite open and to new experiences and trying things. And you have kind of that salad bar brain too, right? You're going to take a big bowl, and I think you'll try a little, hearts of palm or a little artichoke hearts or whatever it is when you're going through. Maybe you would normally put that on your salad, but I see you open to trying it. So I think you have to look at it this way. Should you give up running? No, of course not. It brings you joy. You and Barry love it. You love it. You love to do it with your friends. It's a wonderful part of your life. It's a part of your history. It's a part of your future. It's part of your present. Would kettlebell sport be something that you might really enjoy? I think so, because it's new. It's crazy as it sounds. I love the fact that like running, you don't need a lot of equipment. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you can kind of get right to right to it. So there's not a lot of like things I have to prepare in order to do this workout. I can literally pick up a kettlebell. I mean, I brought it just about everywhere. I've traveled with the darn thing, you know what I mean, on an airplane. So I think it's really like, everything can kind of happen with this one piece of equipment. And you said injury, crazy as it is too, injury rates are low. They're low in it. I have managed to stay relatively injury free. My clients can stuff happen, of course, but not in the same way. Again, I think you elicit that high, intensity experience that you would when you're out there on the track and running hard and sprinting. You're really pushing your lungs. As the guru of this sport, the one on the kettlebells, Valery Fedorenko, who I mentioned to you earlier, always, he compared kettlebell sport training to running up a hill with a backpack of weights. Now, I probably didn't sell the sport, but for a runner, you can understand what that feeling feels like.
Oh my God, that sounds epic. That sounds exactly like something that I would want to do and have, like aspired to sort of do. I love that, Jess, actually. And so interesting about that injury thing, because I don't, with running, as everyone knows, I mean, I'm not telling them anything they don't already know, but it's overuse. That's often where it comes through. It's imbalance, it's weaknesses, and then it's overuse. I never buy into the fact like, you go to some physios and they're like, oh, you just need to switch your glutes on. It's like, well, or work on strengthening them. Like, well, there are muscles there already. There's just something about the way I'm doing it that makes it hard to engage them. But if you're not having that, I suppose, the length of time you spend with the kettle is unlikely to elicit that same overuse
That's right.
issue so much
That's
easier.
exactly right.
Yeah,
And there
amazing.
is an element like running, or you're like pushing off onto one leg. You're always kind of like fighting for that balance point.
Yeah,
Kettlebell sport is based on symmetry because a lot of kettlebell lifting, not all of the lifts, some are done with 2 bells at a time, but for a lot of lifting, certainly the 98% of my career as a kettlebell athlete has been one arm. So the goal is 10 minutes. Okay. Let's just say, so like what
yeah.
I'm training right now in is a 24 kg kettlebell, which is
Mm,
approximately 53 pounds. So that's what
mhm,
I lift, and I lift that
mhm,
with one arm.
mhm.
Okay. My goal is to get to 100 snatches. So some people go, what the hell is that? But if you know, you know.
Yeah,
Also you can look all this up
Google.
online, but right. So my goal is to get, and it's to do it equally on both arms,
Mhm,
right? The goal
mhm.
isn't like 70 reps on one arm and 30 on the other. Could you? Yes, but we don't advise that. So the sport does have like an element of like 5 minutes on the left side and 5 minutes on the right side, and to try to
Yeah,
keep as much, equality of sides as possible. So
yeah,
there's a
yeah.
lot of breath work, but yeah, I mean, I once read you use like, I don't know, over 300 muscles or something in a kettlebell swing. There was some like cuckoo number of just a lot is being recruited at the same time. So
Yeah.
I just think by the like sheer amount of muscles being recruited at the same time, you kind of have to be engaged as much as possible. But there is that symmetry involved, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. And I have to say that something like kettlebell feels intimidating to me the way that CrossFit feels intimidating to me.
I um I can see how it would. I mean, they're not, well, kettlebell sport, at least they're painted different colors, right? Like the hard sport of kettlebell, they're kind of differentiated between two. There's like sport style, which is what I compete in. There's hard style. And hard style is kind of what you'd see a lot of the gyms or even in CrossFit. It's black. It's kind of like it's this big, heavy handle. The sport bells are actually hollow on the inside, and
Mm.
ironically, they're colorful. So I don't know if that's just like, you know, something that puts the brain at ease, but they're different colors. They're pink and blue and yellow, and all of those colors are a different weight category. But in some funny way, that kind of just eases the nervous system. Like, okay, I don't have to freak out. What there
Yes.
definitely is, Mikki, is a learning curve. And so I
Yeah.
could say that could be the most challenging barrier to entry for the
Mm.
sport. But then again, if you're like a good runner, there's kind of you probably need to learn the mechanics before you go out and run too. Most people don't. But if you wanted to kind of be good in any of your crafts, there is an element of like legit coaching that you need to be able to have. But I would say for kettlebell sport, for sure, you can't just like pick it up and just do it. Yeah, you can once you know how to do it. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
It totally
So
makes sense. And there's so many uh synergies with diet as well, because people expect to be able to pick up a
mhm,
diet plan and go with it, pick
mhm,
up a way of
mhm.
eating and just nail it first off. But there's always an element of learning there, and like at the minute I'm coaching people through it with one of my plans, and I know that there like a lot of my people are like that type A personality who expect to be able to dial it in and be perfect from the get-go, and are really hard on themselves when they're not and feel like failures.
That's
So
right.
it's similar, right? Like there's always going to be that, it's always a learning curve.
There's always a learning curve, and I wish, well, I don't want to wish. I would like to help people, you and I, um, understand that like why would we not want a learning curve on something? Why is it
Yeah.
that we assume, I think assumption and shoulds is like the root of evil. You know what I mean? Like
Mm,
all this assuming and should, like why in the world, whoever told you that? The
yeah.
need for information quickly, I think obviously has come in the last like 10-15 years with just all of the technology. I think 20 and 30 years ago there was just a slower pace of information that was being disseminated to us, so that's a different category. But I think the like, I should, and why do I not know it already, and like just because you're you know a type A personality, or you're an exec at your company, or you're a world class triathlete, doesn't mean that you're gonna like that everything in the universe like fits that same thing. And
Mm,
I guess for me, I would, just what I said earlier. I mean, why is sort of a steady plan and program, why would we even resist it? What's the point of it? Like, why don't we just kind of enjoy that there's a ramp up to everything, that we're going to potentially get better, diet plan included, the more time we spend with it, right? It's just, I think that it's this need to have it so, for it to happen so quickly that we kind of forget that the way anything changes in our brain is over time. Habits are formed over time. They're not quickly. I want to say one last thing. You said that you can feel intimidated by it. One thing that was really unintimidating about it was going to kettlebell competitions where there legitimately would be kids 9 and 10 years old. Okay. And then there would be, I think I competed against somebody who was 82.
Wow.
So the range, and CrossFit is great. And maybe now, and people will say what they want. Again, if that's also your passion and love, go be it, my friend. You CrossFit yourself. Like, I love it. I don't want to, again, I never tell anybody what they can and cannot do. I just don't think you will see quite that range of, ages or exercise abilities. I've always kind of, maybe now, but certainly when we started the first women's kettlebell sport team, there was not that happening in CrossFit. Maybe it's happening now, but it was always there for kettlebell sport. It was always there. There was just this. So I would go and I was like, well, God, it's great. Like, I have a client now, she's 76. I'm training her and she just competed at world championships. So,
That's
I mean,
amazing.
It is amazing.
Yeah. And Jess, I just really want to highlight what you said earlier about the immediacy of information now and how that can almost give us this sense of we should know it because the information is there. And that was
Correct.
never like that before. You were so right. There's that link. Like, just because you've got the information there doesn't mean it is knowledge yet. Like, you have to take that step to make it knowledge. Knowledge is what you know and understand and can execute, whereas information is everything else that you've got sort of, at your fingertips, right?
Definitely. And I think we're picking too much information, Mikki.
Yeah.
I also think it's like, just because there's so much of it, like, you don't need all of it. You need our plan, hypothetically, right? Like, I think we have a pretty good one. I think you need our resistance plan or our, plan for nutrition. Like, you don't really, you can consume till you're blue in the face, but I'm not sure how much that's going to help you. So at some point, pick one. Who cares if there's 50 to choose from? Pick one.
And also,
you don't need all that.
Pick one with the foundations. Pick one with the foundations that are setting you up for success. And I think that's what we are wanting to do here, is we've put together a plan that has the diet structure, it has the training structure, but importantly as well, it's got the coaching structure, which you and I are both so passionate about, helping people sort of build a better path for themselves moving forward. Like, they've got a potential solution now, and it absolutely works the way it's intended. It helps people lose weight, which is great, but it needs to be the type of weight that they lose is weight that they want off, and they don't want to be losing muscle, and they don't want to be leaving themselves for a weaker, more sort of weaker, more vulnerable future that leaves them the doors wide open for them to regain, but more importantly, leaves them less stronger than what they sort of started with.
I cannot, stress this enough, but like, they literally, you are nothing without muscle. You know what I mean? There's like nothing that you will be able to accomplish in your life. So this concept of like losing weight and not gaining muscle, I think is really, really, really detrimental to people. And also, I think you and I not only come up with like the right strategies and plans, but I also think we understand people. And I think that that's really important, because we're not robotic. So even with the best of plans and the best of coaches, we're still at our core humans. And so we get distracted and we have other things that kind of come into play. And I think it's important, we've spent many years, you and I, like, really just understanding human psyche. And I think there's something, to that, because this is not, so straightforward. I think you pick your plans, you work with your coaches, and then there's a lot of organicness that comes, into play. So I think really being able to understand, I think, where you are from an emotional standpoint makes a really big difference. I mean, we're living it, you and I, we have these conversations, but we talk about it. And I think we're here, we not only can understand, but we're trying to understand ourselves.
Yeah, 100%. And what I do find quite hilarious though, Jess, is that whenever you and I jump on Instagram, it's more often than not nutrition related that we discuss. But at the fundamental core of it, the thing that keeps muscle on is strength training.
That's right.
And it is your ability to engage in a program that stimulates that load and fatigue that's required in order to break that muscle down and build it back. And of course, nutrition is important, but you cannot build a better body based on diet alone. You have to do the training as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. They literally have to be married together. I mean, as we've talked over and over and over again, there's two ways, right? To like keep that freaking muscle on your body. And there's lots of things I think we should, you know, this is the other great big thing. It's very uncomplicated. You know, it's enough protein and it's enough resistance training to keep the muscle on your body. End of story. Those are the two ways, right? But I think there are so many ways. So there's two ways to keep it on your body, and there's a million ways to remove it.
Oh, I love that.
Right?
So
I mean,
much. Yes.
How about that? How about that for the easiest way for all of you guys to think about it? There's two very straightforward ways to keep it. And it's the most important thing you will keep on your body. End of story. Literally. Without it, there's nothing else you'll really be able to do. But there are so many ways, so many things that you can do that remove it. It's crazy when you think about it.
It is 100%. And I think, Jess, given that we've spent 26 minutes on understanding a little bit more about you, let's leave this here. And the next one we do, we'll do a bit of an intro on me. And then this has kicked off our Strength Renewed podcast series, which I'm super stoked about. Amazing.
I told you what happens when you have a bestie who's Jewish and drinks a lot of coffee. This is what you get. You get 26 minutes of me.
No, and you know what? Too short, far too short. But I'm pulling a Jess, and I'm cutting us here. And next time, for people who aren't sure about my background, we can do a bit of a dive into that, and then we'll get on to the super interesting stuff that people also want to chat about.
I love it. Strength Renewed is coming, and it's going to come with a vengeance. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, me too. Awesome, Jess. Thanks so much.